In 1918, the military approved activated charcoal filters airborne toxins. Every gas mask on Earth still uses it. They never taught you to build one. The materials cost $2. The science has been public for 106 years. A military-grade gas mask with chemical cartridges runs $150 to $400. It assumes intact supply chains. It has a shelf life. The device we're building today uses the identical core science for the cost of a pack of gum. And the respiratory protection industry has zero incentive to tell you that. By the end of this video, you will know the exact construction method. You will understand the science behind every layer. And you will know why this was quietly removed from every government preparedness guide after the Cold War. Why were you never taught this? To understand that, we have to go back to an afternoon in Belgium when the wind changed direction. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this is where buried practical knowledge gets excavated, proven survival science that institutions forgot to mention, or chose not to. This channel exists because functional life-saving knowledge should not be locked behind military clearances or $300 price tags. If self-reliance matters to you, subscribe. Not for entertainment, for information you will actually use. Because this community already knows something most people are still figuring out. The institutions are not prioritizing your preparedness. They are prioritizing their own. Now let's trace exactly where this technology came from and when it disappeared. April 22nd, 1915, Ypres, Belgium. Late afternoon. German forces opened 6,000 cylinders along a 4-mile front. 168 tons of chlorine gas rolled across no man's land in a yellow-green cloud. Within 10 minutes, over 1,000 Allied soldiers were dead. Thousands more clawed at their throats, drowning in the open air. There was no defense, none. The first improvised response was a urine-soaked rag held over the mouth. Ammonia in the urine partially neutralized chlorine. Soldiers were told to urinate on their handkerchiefs. That was the state of respiratory protection in 1915. Then the British War Office turned to Dr. Edward Harrison. His research teams began systematic testing of filtration materials. Charcoal kept outperforming everything else, not slightly, dramatically. By 1916, the British small box respirator entered service. Its core filtration element was granulated charcoal. It worked. Soldiers survived gas attacks that would have killed them a year earlier. By 1918, the science was fully validated. The mechanism was understood. The materials were cataloged. And here is the critical detail. The knowledge was public. Military manuals documented it. Scientific journals published it. Civil defense organizations distributed it. Britain took it further. By 1939, the British government had manufactured and distributed 38 million civilian gas masks. 38 million, nearly one for every man, woman, and child in the country. The knowledge was not classified. It was democratized. Ordinary people had access to activated charcoal respiratory protection. Their governments made sure of it. Fast forward to the Cold War. The 1961 Department of Defense publication titled Fallout Protection included guidance on improvised respiratory protection. The U.S. government was still telling citizens how to protect themselves with simple materials. Then it stopped. Nothing published since matches that manual. The information narrowed, the guidance disappeared, and the commercial gas mask industry quietly grew into a multi-billion-dollar market. But the military never abandoned the science. Not for a single day. The M40 protective mask used activated carbon. Its replacement, the M50, still does. Every single chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear training manual in the U.S. Army still teaches activated charcoal as the primary chemical filtration method. They know it works. They have always known. And this is not just history. In 2013, Syrian civilians facing chemical weapons attacks built improvised gas masks from plastic bottles and charcoal. A century after Ypres, desperate people independently rediscovered the same solution. Because the science does not change. Activated charcoal adsorbs toxic gases. It did it in 1915. It does it right now, so the science was proven. It was public. It was cheap. Then it vanished from everything they taught you. But first, the research vault. What you're watching right now is the surface of what we found. The vault contains full-sourced documents, extended construction variations, charcoal activation protocols, scans of historical military manuals that most people have never seen, original civil defense publications, alternative filter designs for different threat profiles. No fluff, no filler, just primary sources and practical methods, organized by topic. The link is in the description. But everything you need to build this today is right here in this video. Stay with me. Now let's get into exactly why this works at the molecular level. Activated charcoal is not regular charcoal. The activation process transforms it. When wood or coconut shell is heated to 600 to 1200 degrees Celsius in a controlled low oxygen environment, the internal structure, fractures into millions of microscopic pores. The result is a surface area of 500 to 1,500 square meters per gram. Some laboratory-grade activated carbons reach 3,000 square meters per gram. Think about that. A single gram. A pinch between your fingers. With more internal surface area than a small apartment. That surface area is the mechanism. When contaminated air passes through activated charcoal, toxic molecules encounter those pores and stick. The process is called adsorption, not absorption. The distinction matters. Absorption is a sponge soaking up water. The liquid enters the material. Adsorption is different. Molecules bond to the surface through van der Waals forces, weak electrical attractions that hold gas molecules against the carbon surface. The toxin does not penetrate the charcoal. It clings to it. This is not alternative science. This is the same mechanism used in municipal water treatment plants, hospital air filtration systems, poison control protocols. Every emergency room in the country has activated charcoal on hand. Now, the charcoal handles gases and vapors. But airborne threats include particles too, especially nuclear fallout. That is where the cotton layers come in. Layered fabric captures particles through three mechanisms. Interception. The particle follows an airstream and physically touches a fiber. Impaction. Larger particles cannot follow the airstream around a fiber and slam into it. Diffusion. The smallest particles move erratically and wander into fibers. 8 to 16 layers of tightly woven cotton with a thread count above 180 capture 60 to 90% of particles above 1 micron. Above 10 microns, capture exceeds 90%. Here is why that matters for fallout. Nuclear fallout particles are not invisibly small. The dangerous inhalable fraction sits predominantly in the 1 to 100 micron range. That is exactly where layered cotton performs. Now the honest comparison. An N95 respirator is tested at the most penetrating particle size, 0.3 microns. That is smaller than most fallout. The DIY mask does not match N95 performance at that particle size. A properly fitted N95 achieves a protection factor above 10. An improvised mask realistically achieves 2 to 10 depending on face seal. But here is what changes the equation. An N95 is particulate only. It filters particles. It does nothing for gases or chemical vapors. Nothing. The activated charcoal layer in the DIY mask absorbs gases and vapors that pass straight through any N95 on the market. The improvised mask addresses a broader threat spectrum than the commercial particulate standard for $2. Or that is the comparison nobody in the industry wants you to make. So the science checks out, which raises an uncomfortable question about the industry selling you the alternative. The global respiratory protection market is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The dominant players are 3M, Honeywell, MSA Safety, and Avon Protection. Their business model depends on recurring cartridge and filter replacement sales, government procurement contracts worth hundreds of millions, and a certification ecosystem that structurally prevents DIY alternatives from gaining institutional endorsement. NIOSH, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, certifies respiratory protection. That certification framework tests manufactured products. It does not test improvised devices. It cannot certify charcoal you make in your backyard. Well, not because it does not work, because no standardized testing protocol exists for it, and no corporation has any incentive to fund one. A commercial gas mask cartridge costs $15 to $40 and lasts 8 to 12 hours. Activated charcoal from a hardwood fire costs effectively nothing. You cannot build a subscription model around a campfire. No company profits from teaching you charcoal activation. No regulatory body certifies what cannot be standardized. No quarterly earnings call rewards giving away the science. The 1961 Department of Defense Fallout Protection Manual included improvised respiratory guidance. It was the last major government publication to do so. Since then, nothing. Go to ready.gov right now. Search for improvised respiratory protection. You will find nothing actionable. And here's the recent pattern. During COVID-19, governments issued extensive mask guidance, cloth masks, surgical masks, N95s. At no point did any public health authority mention activated charcoal filtration, despite the fact that the virus was airborne, despite the particle size overlap, despite 100 years of proven science. The silence was absolute. That is not a gap in knowledge. That is a gap in incentive. If this is the kind of knowledge you think people deserve access to, subscribe, share this video. The Vault link is in the description. Every share pushes this past the algorithms that bury it. Stay with me. This is where the honest conversation happens. I am not going to oversell this. Here's what this mask cannot do. Face seal is the critical weakness. Without a rigid, form-fitted seal against your skin, contaminated air bypasses the filter entirely. Improvised masks leak. 10 to 50% of ambient particles can enter around the edges, not through the filter. That is the single biggest limitation. Homemade charcoal quality varies. Commercial activated carbon is processed under controlled conditions. Backyard pyrolysis is inconsistent. Your charcoal may have lower surface area and fewer pores than the laboratory numbers I cited. Carbon monoxide passes through activated charcoal. So does ammonia at high concentrations. Formaldehyde, hydrogen cyanide. Military cartridges are impregnated with metal salts like copper and chromium compounds to catch these specific gases. Homemade charcoal is not impregnated. It has real blind spots. There is no eye protection. Chemical exposure to unshielded eyes is a serious threat this device does not address. Breathing resistance increases with charcoal density. Physical exertion while wearing this mask is harder. Your body demands more air exactly when the filter restricts it. Charcoal saturates. It has a finite capacity. When you begin to smell or taste contaminants through the mask, the charcoal bed is spent. It must be replaced immediately. This is not a replacement for a commercial respirator, if you have one. This is not equivalent to a properly fitted M50 military mask. This is what you build when the supply chain is gone and the air is poison. This is the difference between breathing contaminated air with no protection and breathing air that is passed through the same science the military has trusted for over a century. Now you know the limits. Which brings us to exactly how you build it. Materials: 50 to 100 grams of activated charcoal. Hardwood charcoal works. Coconut shell is better if available. 2 square feet of tightly woven cotton fabric. Thread count above 180. A clean cotton t-shirt works. Bedsheet fabric works. Thread and needle or any binding material. 1 plastic bottle or tin can for optional rigid housing. Scissors or a knife. Step 1. Prepare the charcoal. If starting from raw hardwood, place pieces in a covered metal can with a small vent hole. Set the can in a hot fire for 30 to 45 minutes. This is pyrolysis. The wood converts to carbon in the absence of open oxygen. Let it cool completely. Do not open hot. Step 2. Crush the charcoal to granules between 1 and 4 millimeters, roughly the size of coarse sand to small gravel. 12 by 40 mesh is the target range. Too fine and it restricts breathing. Too coarse and air channels through without contacting enough surface. If you can perform a steam activation step by passing steam through hot charcoal at around 800 degrees Celsius, the adsorption capacity improves dramatically. This step is optional but meaningful. Step 3. Assemble the filter sandwich. Cut your cotton into circles or squares roughly 6 inches across. Layer 4 to 6 sheets of cotton as the outer particulate barrier. Spread a uniform charcoal bed 1 to 2 centimeters thick across the inner surface. Cover with 4 to 6 more cotton layers as the inner barrier. Stitch or bind the edges tightly. This is the most critical step. Any gap in the edge seal is a path for unfiltered air. Step 4. Optional rigid housing. Cut a plastic bottle or tin can to create a cup shape. Seat the filter sandwich inside so all airflow must pass through the filter layers. Seal edges with cloth strips, tape, or any available adhesive. Step 5. Fit test. Hold the assembled filter firmly against your face, covering nose and mouth. Place your hand flat over the outer surface. Inhale sharply. You should feel the filter pull against your face. If you feel air entering around the edges, reseal. If the filter collapses slightly inward, the seal is working and air is being drawn through the filter material. Step 6. Use and replacement. Keep the cotton layers dry. Moisture degrades particulate capture. Pair with sealed eyewear for chemical threats. Or when you detect any odor or taste through the mask, the charcoal is saturated. Replace the charcoal bed immediately. This mask filters contaminated air. It does not generate oxygen. In an oxygen-depleted environment, filtration alone will not save you. Total material cost. Under $2 if sourcing charcoal from hardwood. Effectively $0 if made from campfire remnants and scrap fabric. Step back from the workbench for a moment. In 1915, soldiers died in a field in Belgium because no one had solved this problem yet. Within 3 years, they solved it. Activated charcoal, the foundational technology behind every military gas mask ever manufactured. It costs nearly nothing. It has been proven in the most extreme conditions humans have ever faced. It was public knowledge for decades. Governments distributed it to millions of civilians. Then it was quietly removed from the conversation. Not because the science changed, not because something better replaced it, because an industry grew up around selling you the solution at $150 to $400. Because no corporation earns a recurring revenue stream from a campfire and cotton. Because no certification body standardizes what anyone can make. You now have the knowledge that was functionally compartmentalized, not classified, just never mentioned. The question was never whether activated charcoal works. The military answered that a century ago and has never stopped using it. The question is why the gap exists between what institutions know and what they teach the public. This video is the civil defense manual that was never updated. Share it with someone who should have this knowledge. Now, the next video goes deeper into water purification methods that follow the exact same pattern. Proven, cheap, exposed. Stay informed, stay prepared. Stay ahead of what they choose not to teach you.